it's me, Erin. Thanks for joining us on the More Love podcast. Do not tell Rebecca, but this podcast is about empathy. She likes people to think she's dead inside, but the truth is she's a big-time feeler who has truly helped me uncover that empathy is my superpower. Oh, here she comes.
Hey, bestie.
Hi, love.
What are you doing?
Oh, just getting ready to host a podcast.
A podcast? About what?
Life. Our life as best friends, who are more like sisters.
Yay! I love us, and I can't wait to share our stories with the world.
Especially the ones that involve us pushing each other, right? To be our most authentic selves.
Oh, man. Okay.
I think we're about to lose some listeners. We're going to lose some listeners here. We have to break the news to everybody.
What? I got a seed in my retainer.
Rebecca and I are not sleeping together.
Oh, yeah. We do sleep together, but we're not intimate. I know.
I'm really sorry.
Anybody that was questioning that
who was really hoping, had some fantasies, really hoping that was going to be a part of this experience at some point.
Right. I will say, though, when you were a brunette and I was a blonde, people did have a lot of feelings.
I thought you were going to finish that by saying, I did feel differently about you than I do now.
No. I'm just saying, it's one thing to have us as two blondes, but we had a lot of comments.
Right.
I had some pretty strong emotions when I saw that brunette.
You
really?
did?
Oh, yeah.
On the
Both
Facebook.
loves it.
I prefer
page.
brunettes, so when I saw that, I was like,
excuse me.
Erin just became the perfect woman.
Wow.
Excuse me, and my titters were hanging out in that picture too.
Wow.
So I was it all right there.
Your titters.
And my titters were hanging out.
Yeah, look at that.
My brunette hair.
That was a long time ago, man.
That was a long time ago. I used to go back and forth between both. I used to do the dark hair or the blonde hair.
You were brunette right before you got married.
Oh yeah.
And we went blonde.
And then it had to be like all sorts of bleached for a very long time. You can see I still have some of the dark pieces in here.
Is that your natural color or is it darker?
It's mousy brown. My natural color is
my roots?
nasty, mousy, boring brown.
Mousy brown?
Mousy brown, boring. Yeah, not as exciting.
Lemon.
Yeah. Yeah. But we might lose some listeners here because I think, at least one person was holding on to the fact that at some point we were going to make out or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
do you have a large lesbian following? Is that or is it dudes? Because I don't think it'd be dudes.
You don't? Thanks, Scott.
No,
you don't think dudes would want us to make out?
Of course they would, but I don't think they would have grabbed onto the podcast in the hopes that would happen because they would have saw More Love and been like, I'm not listening to that.
They might have saw More Love and thought, whoa, I am real interested here. What does that look like?
When we bust out the Busted by Babes, they're all in.
Oh, yeah.
All in.
Right, yeah.
I don't know if we can do Busted by Babes. Now you got no titters.
I know. Now my titters are smaller. I know.
You should change the name to T-Twisters.
T-Twisters?
Yes, and it could be tongue and titty twisters.
Yeah.
Stop it.
I like that.
With Cabbage and the Professor.
And we could go live from Chapafellas.
Oh, yes. Chapafellas. I haven't been there in a while.
Yeah.
Love that place.
No.
Did I tell you what that man said to me the last time I was there?
Yes.
Did I tell you, Scott?
You did not tell our listeners.
I don't know.
I did not?
No.
Is this appropriate?
Yes.
It's probably inappropriate.
Especially since we're talking about this topic.
So I go to Chapafellas, and it's a black barbershop. And I love the vibe there. I love the people there. There's this man there who I believe owns the place. And he always wears the best glasses, like the coolest glasses, a really cool guy. So I struck up a conversation with him like I do with everybody else, just totally normal conversation. And this time he's asking me, oh, well, where do you live? I said, oh, I'm out in Rochester. He's like, oh, I'm familiar with the Rochester area. What part do you live in? And I said, Fairport. And he said, oh, that's awesome. Do you have any land? And I said, well, we do have some land. We live on about an acre. And then behind us is Forever Wild. And he's like, how about horses? I'm like, this is getting oddly specific. I don't really understand where this is going. I said, no, we do not have any horses. And he says, oh my God, I got to get this right. Well, if you ever want to ride a wild stallion, I got it right here for you.
Boy, he strung you along for that one.
This was me. I was like, ha, ha, and it's just like walk back to get my massage. And then the whole time I'm back there for a massage, I'm like, are there video cameras back here? This is next level.
How about the time you were at the casino?
Which time?
Oh my God.
Oh, this is the best story. This is the best story. Mark loves this story. Oh my God. So, what is that? What the was that?
Dude, terrible.
What was that?
I was trying to find my horse sound.
But what was the first sound? What was that? It was like a dying coyote.
It says horse laugh.
Yeah, that was not it.
That was
not
scary.
it. When Mr. Ed or what? Yeah. That is
not good.
Take that one off the docket.
Yeah, that's
that
gone.
one's
Gone.
not it. Okay, so I love myself the casino. And what do I love to do at the casino? Play poker. I play Texas Hold'em like a fiend. I absolutely love it. When I say fiend, I go like once a year. So I absolutely love Texas Hold'em. And again, I'm at the casino and I'm sitting down playing my game of Hold'em. I will sit there for 8 hours with $200. I just really love that no one talks to me. I love that I don't have to solve any problems. I love the suspense of not knowing what cards are going to come out. So there's a man sitting next to me. I can't with your face. And he strikes up a conversation. Again, what I think is a very normal conversation. And he's a very good poker player. He is there constantly playing poker. At least I think he's a good poker player. I'm going to leave that to you to decide after we get a little further in this story. So I'm playing, I'm asking him some questions. He's telling me that he will always raise up to $100 if he has a pocket pair. He doesn't care what pocket pair. He feels like he's already starting ahead. I'm like, this is really great. This is wonderful. I'm just engaging in what I believe is normal conversation with this individual until I'm up about $400 and I take my $600 and I decide it's time for me to cash out. So I go and I get up and he also gets up, which I'm like, oh, he just has to go tinkle. It's fine. He just has to go to the bathroom. And we walk toward the place where you have to cash out. And he's like, hey.
Stop it. Stop.
Hey. I don't know if you've ever done this before, but I would really love to get together outside of here. And I know that looks like you're married, but this is how we do this. Take out your phone. I am
Please tell me you
beside
did not take out your phone.
myself right
You're
now.
like, okay.
I did not take out my phone.
Good.
I
girl.
did not take out my phone. I look at him and he goes, I'm going to give you my number. You put me in your phone as Barb.
Barb.
You put me in your phone as Barb. I will not text message you until I hear from you first. And this is every time you will say to me, it's in the clear. It's okay for you to contact me so that your husband doesn't have to know. And if he ever does look at your phone and sees it, it'll say Barb.
Say, can I do Myrtle? Can I be Myrtle instead?
I am beside myself right now. So I say, oh, thank you so much for that offer. But no. Nope, that's not me. That's not me. You know, happily married. It's completely fine. And then I walk away all uncomfortably. And for, I'm going to say 3 months, I couldn't bring myself to go back to the casino because I was afraid I was going to see him and it was going to be uncomfortable. Yeah. So I made friends with one of the dealers and we're friends on Facebook. And I tell him this story and he's like, I'm calling him Barb. I am calling him Barb.
Because he's a frequenter. What do they call it? Regular.
Oh yeah,
a regular.
Yeah. That was. I forgot that part of the
high
story.
roller?
I forgot that part of the story. He tells me he gets free hotel rooms,
Right.
because he goes there so often.
Right.
He can get us.
Right.
Free hotel rooms at Delago or at the Turning Stone Casino.
Right.
And then he says, I don't know if you know this about me, but I make about $35,000 a year playing poker. This is before the
How
Barb.
much does he spend?
The Barb situation. Now, this is this man's job. This man's job is to play poker. So I don't know what to say right now. So the minute I tell the dealer, right, he's like, I'm going to call him Barb. I'm like, you can't. He's going to know that I told him this. He's like, you got to break this level of toxicity. This is not okay. He's not allowed to do this. But that's basically harassment. You can't be just engaging in a conversation with someone and then be like, hey, did you want to sleep together? And your husband doesn't need to know. Just put me in your phone as Barb, right?
Oh, it was so weird.
So now to this day, the dealer still sends me random snapshots of this guy.
Barb.
He always wears the same, what do you call the shirts with the collar?
Polo shirt? A
Polo.
polo shirt?
Can
Always
you
in a
use the
polo.
mic, please,
Sorry.
Rebecca?
Sorry.
Always in a polo. So he'll send me pictures, looks like we recycled the pink polo, look at whatever. And then the minute that I got home, I'm like, Mark, I need to tell you what just happened here. So then Mark, the next time we are at the casino, he's with me.
Oh, Jesus.
And of course, this man and I are sitting at the same table again. And Mark comes over and just like gives the guy the look, right? Like bends down real close to me, puts his hand on my back, right? Just like this, like, are you kidding me here, dude? Like, what the heck? So this is the other side of empathy when you're just trying to be a nice human and
Right.
engage in conversation and see people and whatever.
Are you flirting with me?
You
Yeah, they
get
take it to the next level.
He's just an unseen man who got seen at the poker table for 30 minutes, and before you know it, Barb.
He's Barb. You're Barb. Somebody's
Goodness
Barb.
knows that
Barb.
full-time gamblers are just a catch.
Well, I know, $35,000 a year. This makes me think of something. Have you guys watched Baby Reindeer on Netflix?
I have to. I know. You sent it to me the other day, and I've been reading things about it.
What is this? Is it a kid's show? Is it a...
Oh, no.
What are you talking
This show is based on a true story, and it's about this woman who stalks this man. Every single person who's listening to this podcast right now needs to find themselves a Netflix account if they don't have it, and to watch season 1. It is this podcast in 8 episodes.
Get out. Get out.
It is. It goes through the fact that this woman comes in and she's incredibly not okay, and she identifies herself as a lawyer, and it goes through her whole.
But she's
story.
uneducated?
No, she's very smart. She identifies herself as a lawyer, but she can't afford a Diet Coke, which is everything she wants. She comes in all the time and wants a Diet Coke. So it starts by him.
Comes into who? The
bar. He works at the bar.
Oh, a bar.
Sorry. He
I'm
works
thinking
at a
we're
bar.
in a psychiatrist office.
No. He
Okay.
works at a bar.
Okay.
So she comes in and she always wants something to drink, but she says she can't afford it. So how does it start? He gives her a free Diet Coke. And I'm like, oh my God, this is me. This is what would happen. I'd be like, you don't need to pay for it. It's totally fine. Then you start to go through the sequence of how he feels so bad for her. So he continues to entertain her, whatever, because he feels so bad and nervous and uncomfortable about her experience. She turns out to be a crazy stalker. Like we're talking next level on police radar stalker, right?
Cannot wait.
And then the next part, like from like episode 4 on, I need you all to brace yourself for. It is
Don't spoil it for me.
I will not. It is very intense, very difficult to watch.
That's
they
what I've
have
heard.
a disclaimer in the very beginning, which is it needs like flashing lights.
Okay.
It is very hard to watch.
I've heard this whole thing is difficult.
Yes.
It's because I think people were expecting it to be a certain way, and it's way more intense.
No. So starting at episode 4, you start to understand, and he starts to explain why he is the person who gives the free Diet Coke, why he is the person who has to see this woman, even though he doesn't want anything to do with her. And you see the way that this plays out through the trajectory of his life and his own family and the woman that he's dating. And I am telling you,
You've never been so seen?
this is next level.
Yeah,
and then I'm on like the very like last episode at this point, but the one right before this episode, it's him on a stage supposed to be doing something, which I'll leave
isn't
right
he a
for that.
comedian or something?
Yeah, he is a comedian.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be doing comedy. No one laughs at his jokes, right? So he finally at this moment is like, you know what? Sits down on this stage and expresses every single thing in the clearest way possible about why he is the way he is and what has happened to him and why he's doing the things that he's doing, right? And I'm telling you, you guys have to watch this show, Netflix. Baby Reindeer is what it is called. It is terrifying. It is heart and gut wrenching. It is every emotion you could possibly imagine. It says limited series, and I think there's maybe 8 or 9 episodes, but it makes me think of Barb sitting at the table and me being like, oh, tell me, how would you play this hand, Barb, right? Just to be nice and
Civil
kind and
engaging, a nice neighbor.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden
it gets taken too far. Anyway, Baby Reindeer on Netflix.
Watching it.
You should probably
watching
watch
it tonight. Today's Friday. My kids got soccer for 3,000 hours, which
Yep.
means I got the whole night free because
That's right.
Philip's doing it.
That's right.
You the man, you the man, you the man.
You the man, you the man, you the man. Philip got a new job.
Yeah, well, not a new job, but
Got a promo.
You got a promo.
You got a promo. Making more
Phil.
money.
Yeah, Phil.
So,
we made up a song for you.
That's right.
Should we sing it?
Yep.
Ready?
You the man, you the man, you the man, you the man, you the working for man. You're the working for man.
In fact, we are going to FaceTime you later and sing that too.
Because we were like, what was his job before? And we were like, truck driver.
No, he was the raker.
Rake is the guy who rakes the
asphalt.
but not anymore.
The asphalt.
Not anymore. Now we are the working foreman. I'm like, what are the other job titles?
don't
that
know.
sounds stupid.
Yeah, way to go, honey.
Way to go. Way to
You
go.
the man.
Bring in that bacon.
Bring it home. Oh, I can quit my job.
You the man. You the man. You the man. You the working foreman. You the working foreman. I love that. I can't wait to call him and do that. We got to do that on FaceTime before we get out of here.
As soon as
he
we're
don't
done.
like that.
He better
doesn't
answer
like
the
that.
phone.
Yeah, you better. We'll keep calling him 16 times if he doesn't, because that's what you do.
It's true. It's true.
That's what you do. All right. What hippie voo card you got for us
I
today?
got the 6 of Swords. Look at who it is.
A swan?
Is that a swan
A duck?
or
It's a chicken.
a pelican?
Oh, a pelican?
It's a
Well, it
stork.
doesn't really have the girdle.
It's a stork.
Is that what it's called? Every
It's not
time,
a paddleboard.
Every
Stork.
time I laugh like that,
Who's that?
it sounds like Elvis Duran in the morning and whoever that other woman is that laughs like that. It's not okay.
It's funny.
I need to stop
it's not breezy.
doing
Are you
that.
the kind of person that picks up people's laughs and makes them their own?
I don't know. Am I? I mean, that would be
I
an
don't think
empathy
so.
trait right there. It'd be an empathy trait.
Oh, this is interesting.
Okay, what?
This is a sign that you're moving on to better times. Greener pastures, sweeter honey,
Yummy.
less frequent panic attacks.
Awesome.
There may be some sadness or feeling of loss as you row your boat to the other side of the lake, but you can take comfort in knowing this new shore is a definite upgrade. So, while you paddle away from the struggle beach, daydream about private cabanas, pre-sliced mangoes, and martial arts level massages that await you.
Wow.
And also hope that word hasn't gotten out to all the tourists yet. I call next level joy into my life, and I'm so grateful for all the things I'm about to be so grateful for.
Oh, hanging loose.
Speaking of
Hanging loose.
those,
I love that.
I told Sawyer all about them,
Yeah.
and then I went to look in my bag, and I never took
you
one
didn't
home.
get one.
Yeah, you
didn't
better
get a
give it to
hand.
me now.
You didn't get a little mini hand.
I know. She's
Hanging
dying to put it
loose.
on the Kia.
Hanging loose.
She wants to put it on the paws.
That's a good one. I like that one.
You like that one?
Yeah. I actually think you did a great job reading
Thank
that
you.
as well.
Thank you.
Did you work on that? Or?
No,
Okay.
I didn't.
Okay, you slowed it down.
Yeah.
Is what happened.
Yeah.
You slowed it down.
Well,
a little bit.
these are my eyesight's getting a little better.
I have an affirmation card.
Good.
Let me
We
read
forgot to
one.
do that one last time.
Yeah. Whoa, almost spilled my drink. Scott loses shit.
Sacrilege.
I know that worrying only blinds me from the beauty that is all around me. I am not stressing. There it is.
Very good. I love that.
Yep.
I love that.
Speaking of stressing, you know who's not stressing? You.
Why?
About what we talk about on this podcast.
Yes, that's
because
right.
You don't have any clue
No
what
idea.
we're about to talk about.
Nope.
Okay. So, what I think we could talk about today, I have two things we could talk about. This is
Okay.
going to be a choose your own adventure.
I get to choose it?
Sure, you and Scott. If you pick the wrong one, I'll pick different ones. I'll be the final determiner. Okay.
We get to pick it as long
Story
as
of
it's
my
okay
life.
with
You get
you.
to pick it as long as I like it.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
So one is you posted something on the More Love Facebook group a little while ago now about can you still have empathy for people if they're basically causing their own problems? If
Preventable problems?
What they are doing is preventable, they're choosing not to prevent it, and do you continue to have empathy for these people? Great topic idea.
Or do you have empathy for something that ultimately happens that could have been preventable? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. That's a little different twist there. I
Okay.
had more empathy for that second one than maybe I did for the first one.
Oh.
Yeah. Or, so Scott, that would be number one. And number two is I have a quote that came up on my feed today that I found really fascinating and thought might be a good discussion. So
Was it underneath a specific kind of picture?
was not in my stories,
Oh, okay.
which still happens to be showing
Right now?
what we talked about
Let me see.
last time. Okay, here's what it says. People pleasing is a form of emotional unavailability too. People pleasing is a form of emotional unavailability too. It's difficult for anyone to get to know the real you if you downplay your feelings, your needs, and wants in your relationships.
That's taking a lot of assumptions there.
So that would be number two. So here we go. Choose your own adventure. Do you want to go down? Here's a little hint. Next week's episode is whatever they don't pick this week. So just, a little foreshadowing.
I don't want to talk about any of those. I want to talk about...
You. I know you don't. I know you don't. Do you want to talk about preventable or do you want to talk about this quote? Scott, what's your vote?
Why are you making me choose?
Because you know I ain't going to do it.
One or
Probably
two.
have more to say about the second thing.
Okay, interesting.
Oh. On topic number 2.
You pick topic number two too? You pick a topic number?
Well, I have to. Otherwise, you're the tiebreaker and you're just going to pick what you want.
No,
pick what you want.
No, how about you be the tiebreaker?
You're the driver.
I would pick
Drive
one.
the show.
Oh, I'm happy to do whatever you want.
I can't. What are you, Scott? You in the middle? You in the middle? I'm
whatever
happy to do
you
whatever
want.
you guys. I can kill a little bit of Rebecca, a little bit of Aaron, a little bit of Rebecca, a little bit of Aaron.
Like we're so polar opposite.
Well, sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah, but
Okay.
what do you want to do?
Let's leave it to the listeners. Just kidding. You can't tell us. Not
Call
a
in.
live show.
Call in.
Not a live show. I don't know. Scott was on number 2. You don't have an opinion either way? Mm-mm. If you had to have an opinion, which one would it be?
Flip a coin. I really don't care. I'll talk about both.
We're going to flip the middle finger.
Flip the finger.
We're going to flip the middle finger. Well, what are we going to hope it lands on the actual?
No, you just pick.
All right. I want to talk about the preventable.
Okay.
The preventable piece.
Okay.
Sorry, Scott.
That's fine.
We'll do you next.
We
right.
do you next
do
time.
you.
We do you. Give some people some time to think about
What
those.
a man. What
those
a man.
Think about those quotes. Oh, my
The
God.
studio audience probably loved that.
Good. Glad they called in with their opinion.
All right. So you were the one who posted it on Facebook. Give us some idea of what you were thinking or what was coming up for you when you posted it on the More Love Facebook page.
At first, I thought you were going to say, give us a recap of what people said. I have no idea because I didn't know we were talking about this and I didn't go back and read it. So what I was thinking, I was probably in the moment, I write things in the moment. So at that moment, I was probably come face to face or watch something on TV or something happened where I'm like, it's really interesting that people were reacting to that in that way when that entire situation might have gone a different way based on life choices, whatever. So then I thought, is there preventable things that people could do? How do I word this? I think one of the examples that I was thinking about was somebody smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day and continued to engage in that lifestyle a long time, knowing what we know now, that's not the best choice and that these things could happen, and then ended up getting lung cancer and going through the cancer and then probably dying or whatever. And I thought, for someone who actively engaged in something like that, do I have empathy and sympathy for the outcome that happened?
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Interesting.
And then I started to think of other potential examples of that. And so I thought, well, I wonder what other people think.
When you just said that, my mind went to people who have really strong opinions on drug abusers who overdose.
Yes.
And
or addicts. Like, there's a lot of people who don't believe addiction is real.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that don't believe mental illness is real.
Right.
You're not depressed. Get over it.
Yeah. Suck it up.
There's a lot. That's what I mean. So, like, it's really interesting, right? Because, I don't know.
What's interesting is I had a different reaction to smoking than I did to the significant drug abuse, which makes me wonder why. So in my opinion, when I think about significant drug abuse, that at the core of all of that is excessive pain and loneliness and worthlessness. I don't associate those same feelings with smoking multiple packs of cigarettes a day, but I don't know why. Because it's still a behavior. It's still a toxic behavior. And it's still a behavior that is being used to fuel something in some way, right? So in the case of the person who smokes multiple packs of cigarettes and then ends up with cancer, do I feel empathy for that? I don't necessarily feel empathy for the situation. I feel more sympathy for the situation. But what I for the specifics of like why they're there, what I feel empathy for is that they are now experiencing the results of their decisions,
quote unquote consequences.
Yeah. And their family is experiencing that, and that I don't think anyone chooses those consequences. You might not be thinking of it in the moment, right? But I feel empathy more at that point, whether it be smoking or drug addiction, or got a whole host of other, examples for the fallout of that. And as someone who knows pain and knows suffering and knows that I don't want people to feel uncomfortable, that's where my empathy comes in.
I don't know. I've never necessarily been face to face with a situation like that, so I don't have experience that I can speak to in this moment of something that I could be like, well, let me share this example. But I watch all these things on TV, and I'm like, oh wow, maybe it's a situation where I keep going back to The Worst Roommate, that show. And how these people are like, oh, let me get a roommate because I need to offset my bills, right? And then what happens is maybe that person was manipulative or wasn't. I don't know. But maybe it comes down to you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what questions to ask, right? So then you get into a situation that may or may not have been preventable based on X, Y, and Z. I know that's super vague, but I just keep reflecting on different things that I'm exposed to. And I just sit there and I think about it. And maybe it's because I'm a mom of a teenager and I think, well, how do I make sure or help my kids to problem solve and critically think about things to the best of their ability? Because I also feel it comes back to, I don't think humans maybe are great at that, specifically the younger generation. You don't really have to think through a whole lot when it's so easy to access. This morning on my Facebook, it just updated and now there's AI incorporated into my Facebook. And half the time I write my emails through ChatGPT. I don't even have to think of a way to write something that's heartfelt. I just say, respond to this email in a loving, empathetic way. And ChatGPT spits it out. I reread it. I'm like, damn, that's good. And I pass it on. That's not my thoughts, So then I think,
probably shouldn't have admitted that.
Why? I think it's freaking genius.
Okay.
And if other people aren't doing it, then shame on you.
If you're not doing it, you're wasting time.
Yeah. I mean, you got to, and that maybe that's the thing, taking advantage of all the quote unquote tools and accessibility. But then is there an empathy problem when somebody who's a kid writes a paper through ChatGPT and tries to submit it and then gets caught for plagiarism? Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I don't, the ChatGPT piece isn't relating with me as much as the having a bad roommate, filing for bankruptcy, making poor financial choices, those types of
choosing
things.
Not to file taxes.
Right.
Choosing to walk out of a restaurant without paying a tip.
Right. So do I have empathy for the consequences of that person's actions? And what I think that brings up for me is you have a very hard time when someone continues to do something over and over again that negatively impacts their life. Eventually you get to a point where you say, I need to distance myself from this, and this is not okay because I can't sit here while you're continuing to make these decisions. You tend to see that as, you're an idiot, I'm out of here. And I tend to see that as an overabundance of empathy on your part. You can't continue to watch the struggle because at the end of the day, you do want what's in the best interest of people.
100%.
And it's very hard for you to sit back and watch people make destructive decisions when they could be making different choices.
But I want to clarify, my way is not the right way. I don't judge you. Oh, well, I wouldn't have done it that way. I just want you to be successful and happy and feel great about whatever you're doing. And if you're not in that place, you could be, you know what I mean? So don't confuse that with, oh, well, they should have done it this way. They would have had better results. That's not what I mean.
I don't know. I sometimes think that. I sometimes think to myself, this is a pretty wrong way of handling this situation. And this is how you should have done it. Or it doesn't have to be this exact way, but something along this way. Let's use the example of having a roommate that becomes a squatter, right? Someone who's staying there way past the time that they're supposed to, right?
My son.
Your son's a squatter?
That's what we call him. We call him the squatter.
The squatter.
That's funny.
There's a whole like show on this.
I'm telling you.
That's associated with people whose sole job it is to come and squat at other people's houses and not leave, right? So I think of a whole host of things that people could do in that squatter situation. One is completely ignore it and not talk about it. I happen to think that's the absolute wrong way to handle that situation if you are upset that they are there. You need money to continue paying the bills. They continue to have a negative experience on you because of this. I don't believe that going ostrich and sticking your head in the sand is the right way to handle that situation, right? I also don't happen to think that the process of making this person's life a living hell is necessarily the best process. Is it a strategy and a tactic? Yeah.
Sure.
Will I stick by it a little bit just to see what the impact is going to be? Yeah, I'd be willing to try that angle, right?
Yeah, but your natural tendency is to talk things
through.
And
in this case, we're not talking. I'm literally banging pots and pans. I'm having ragers in the middle of the living room.
Yeah, but that's after you've exhausted the talking and it didn't work. I just know you.
For me?
Yes.
100%.
Yeah,
But I'm saying if someone else picks,
Oh, okay.
you know, I'm not going the talking route, right?
Yeah.
But I want to just take this guy's door off the hinges, right? Or I'm removing all the toilet paper from the bathroom. And so now when this guy wants to go to the bathroom, he's going to have to do something about it, right? Like I there's a part of me that really enjoys a little bit of that.
Oh,
right.
You're a little vindictive.
I'm a little fan of, we got to get our passive aggressiveness out in some way, shape, or form.
Hell yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right.
I'm not one for pure aggression. I'm not one for beat this guy up when he comes out to use the toilet, right? But
No, but make his life a little bit more difficult with perhaps a little bit of a laugh involved.
Right. You don't need to have a cakewalk here while you're making my life a living hell, because you got to remember at the end of the day, I'm big on fairness. I do not like when those scales are not tipped.
I know.
Right.
I know.
But if you are someone who's so in that way, I do have some strong feelings about the person who chooses to say nothing and do nothing, but continues to complain about the fact that this continues to be a problem.
Okay.
My problem with that is that it's hard for me to have empathy for your situation when you're not doing anything to improve that yourself. I can have empathy for you as someone who's non-confrontational. I can have empathy for you as someone who wants something to be different and doesn't know how to do that. I can have empathy for the fact that you do not have the appropriate tools to manage this situation. In fact, I feel worse about you when you do have the tools to manage the situation. You're still choosing to not manage the situation. And then you want me to come in and clean up the mess for you. Right.
Because it's hard.
Right.
Things are hard.
Right. That's when I struggle with having empathy. And it's a very quick transition for me from going from having empathy for this person to thinking that this person is ill.
Ooh. Oh,
There's not a lot. There's not a lot in between there for me. I don't think. I've not given it a ton of thought, but in this moment, there's not a lot there.
That's a good point, because
there's got to be some level of illness.
Yeah, that's what she's saying.
There's got to be some level of illness, because that, it's just like when we're watching these shows and it's like, how can someone be so damn evil, or how can someone be so
gullible,
selfish, or how can, I mean, maybe not gullible. I mean, people are perfectly fine and gullible. My mother-in-law is extremely gullible, and she's not.
I don't know
in any way.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that.
But then, do you have empathy for people who are gullible?
To some extent, I do.
Do I have empathy for people who are gullible? To a certain extent, I believe that empathy exists. There are also times where I then believe that it's an illness, that you are so gullible and so naive and so unable to manage this situation that we have crossed over into.
Like if they're incapable of getting better at that,
or learning,
incapable of having, of
transferable skills.
Yeah, of learning double, checks. Like
that's a great example. Let's think about the person who gets catfished online. Right. I can have empathy for the fact that you got swindled.
Yes.
I don't like that for you at all.
Wait, clarify that. When you say catfish, you mean you think you're in a relationship with someone, just an emotional relationship.
Yeah.
You're not being robbed with money.
Well, that's next level.
But that's right. So
sure, just we can
let's
do this
just do
catfish.
Me and you.
Yeah.
Hey, honey. I think I'm dating.
You're the hot, sexy
Joe.
blonde that I just cannot get enough of.
Right. But reality is, I'm
over here. Then the questions are, well, have you ever FaceTimed her? No.
Right.
When she wants to get together with you, does she always have an excuse? Yes.
Oh.
Do you talk to her on the phone? Yeah, but her voice sounds a little animated. Right. So what I feel bad for or have empathy for is, in this case, that would be me.
Yeah.
Falling for that. I feel bad for the fact that I needed to need that so much that I was willing to overlook some of the really clear signs that this wasn't the case. That's where I have empathy. If I then go back online over and over and over again, and then I meet not Joe, but Donnie. And Donnie is also a real hot blonde with great model pictures.
Right.
And I say, hey, Donnie, I really learned from this last time. Can we get on FaceTime? And Donnie's like, we sure can. And we get on FaceTime and Donnie's in a dark room where you can't see Donnie. Right.
My camera's not working. Is that
Right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. It looks like it's frozen on this picture of me. It's the same picture.
I got bad connection.
If we're back in that same point, then there's a part for me that's like, okay, there's one part that I really want to have empathy for. There's another part that says, can you go fix that, please? Come on.
I know.
This is not okay over and over and over again. And that's the part for me that feels like illness. So that's an example when Scott just said gullible. I do still feel like there's a line that can get crossed where you reach over into this point of an illness doesn't have to be necessarily diagnosable disease, but you have such a deep unmet need that is coming up that it is causing you to make bunk choices.
Yeah. Or is it the fact that when your brain was forming, when you were in your formative years, you were constantly given the information or just the path was laid out and you never had to actually critically think?
Maybe. And that's fine. But those are also things our brains are not plastic, right? They change. We can change those things.
Can we?
Can
you teach an old dog new tricks?
You can.
Can you?
It just takes them longer to learn.
I hope so. Or I
hope so too.
My whole profession is a waste of time and money if you can't. If all of a sudden I'm over here doing therapy with Scott, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, old dog, no new tricks. He's going to just keep his same neural pathways. Do I think it's hard? Yeah. The older you get, it's a lot harder. But I have to believe that people have the ability to change and do things different.
It's different this time.
I believe people have the ability. Do I think it's always successful?
Oh, it's definitely not always successful.
I would think there's less of a success rate.
So I did a podcast with someone a few years ago, and I should send it to you. This podcast took such a left turn that it blew my mind.
Love that.
We were talking. I was going to talk to this person about success in the production industry, being a video producer, stuff like that. And it took a left turn, and we were talking about sex trafficking.
Oh.
Because this man had fallen in love with this woman who was being held as a sex worker, and he was paying money through the nose to buy her out of it.
So he thought.
And I'm like, dude, you're getting punked.
Right.
You don't, and no matter what anyone ever said, he believed that he was saving.
This was on the
working
podcast?
at saving her.
This was on the podcast. This man is saying that he's working on saving this sex worker. And in the moment, you're like, you're getting scammed, dude.
Well, I think I don't remember my approach. It was I was not
buying it,
prepared for it.
Yeah.
So I tried to be sensitive to the situation and not belittle him in the podcast. So
that's really hard.
Don't unleash him to Rebecca.
If Aaron's like,
don't unleash him. Yo, but you doing what? You wasting your damn money.
I said, I'm like, I honestly think you're being taken for a ride. I don't think this is legit. And he was emphatic.
Yep. And
then just recently, I say recently,
you saw them walking down the street together?
No, no. He finally admitted to me that he had been scammed.
Yep.
And I can't tell you the thousands, tens of maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars that he lost.
And you felt what? Empathy for him?
No.
You didn't?
Well, of course I felt empathy for him, but it was also kind of like
obvious.
I felt sorry for him.
So
I don't know if it's empathy in, well, maybe it is, but I just felt like, gosh, you really should have listened to everyone who was telling you that this was not legit. Like there's gullible, and then there's, tunnel vision and the inability to listen to other people and the inability to change your track because you are so focused on where you're headed that you will not listen to other opinions. And it's really hard to feel sorry for someone. And this goes back to the other thing you were talking about. It's really hard to feel sorry for someone like that who's been given multiple opportunities to not be taken for this ride, but they demanded to go for this ride, and now they're upset that they got where they got.
We're talking about the difference between sympathy and empathy in my mind, because when we say it's really hard to have, it's really hard to feel sorry for someone who's experienced. That's sympathy. That's not empathy.
Right.
Because empathy is not, I feel sorry for you. Empathy is, I'm climbing in your skin and experiencing it with you for a while, right? It's not feelings of, oh boy, can't believe this happened to you. Right?
I can't crawl into someone's skin and feel sorry for them to that extent.
In that situation.
Because there was one time where I was almost taken for a ride. I was almost swindled.
Okay, so you
and I realized that I was being stupid about it. That I was missing, and I got out of it, and it was good timing. Because I was like, what, really? Do I really think that, and it all came down to the fact of where I was mentally and emotionally in that phase of my life.
Sure.
This is something I needed so badly that I was going to believe whatever I was told.
That's what I have empathy for.
Right.
That's where I think a lot of people are.
Yeah.
Because I've experienced that, I can get there and say yes. But at the same time, kicking myself for going, you should have known better. And you kind of did know better. You kind of thought deep down, there's something weird about that. But you had this weird level of hope that you're like, maybe it's real. Maybe it's legit.
Right.
When I first couple of years in college, I was playing in a band, and we met a guy who claimed he was with RCA BMG Records, and he was out looking for the next act and liked our demo and wanted to record a new demo. And he lent us this recording equipment, totally thought he was legit. He was telling us all about everything. And, I was going to the record store or to the guitar store saying, I'm going to buy that one. I'm going to buy that one. You guys are getting a $300,000 bonus. You're going to be touring all over, And finally it was like, my buddies were like, dude, he's full of shit. There's no way. He's full of shit. And I'm like, no, it's real. I know it. It's real. This is my destiny. He was full of shit. I finally called the record company that he claimed to be one of the executives of, and they never heard of the guy.
This is Baby Reindeer. And how he fell, got groomed by this man who promised him the world from a comedy perspective. And when he's alone sitting on that stage and saying, I hated myself so much, I was willing to believe anything that was
you have that desire to achieve that holier than, that holy grail of goals. Wanting to be a successful musician was such a huge thing for me. And it was like, oh my God, this is actually going to happen. Look at how these things, you always hear about the way things happen, it was destined to be. And I always wanted that to be the case. I always wanted to be, we bumped into this guy and it turns out he's this, and now we're here.
Yeah.
And,
because that's what you hear often.
But the other thing was
with these huge, big names, right?
Yeah. Right. This is how it happens.
Right. So don't ever,
but the other
don't ever give up. You never know if you're at, ugly told soul bar. Yeah, right.
The other part of it was this guy didn't ask us for money. He didn't, it was just a play. He just wanted to make himself out to be more important than he was.
Yeah.
So that he could have us all starry-eyed looking to him for advice when he wasn't asking us to, all right, well, to do this, you're going to need to do a demo and it's going to cost you. He wasn't trying to bilk us out of money, which made it more believable because he wasn't after something that we had.
Right.
He just wanted to pretend to be a big shot, and he wasn't.
This is also how cult leaders come to power.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right. I know.
Right? This is also how I'm not going to ask you anything in first.
Drink the flavor.
I'm going to, connect with you. I'm going to provide you a safe space. We're going to start this real slow and build this relationship. And then all of a sudden it's, we want to keep you as a part of this wonderful relationship. It's just going to cost you this much money. And before you know, you got some pyramid scheme related to a cult, right? That's one of the most sociopathic tendencies out there is you build relationship, trust, and guidance. And then you go back to that and you say, don't you remember when you were nothing and I wanted nothing from you?
Yeah.
It's so, this is empathy with boundaries, right? This is why the boundary piece is so incredibly important, because there are a lot of these swindler, scheming, unhealthy people that will take advantage of people. Yeah. And so the question that I'm hearing us ask under the surface is, I don't know what the other word is, but the question is, can empathy and blank exist in the same space? I don't know what the blank is. Anger, judgment. Can empathy and judgment exist in the same space? Maybe it is judgment, right? Because in the example of the squatter,
I think it can.
Or the example of bankruptcy, can I have a really strong opinion of what it is that you're doing and how you're doing it and still have empathy? Can empathy and judgment
I do that every day.
You do.
Every day.
You just lead more with judgment than you do with empathy? Or you present more with judgment than empathy?
When you say present, my verbalization is empathy. My internal thought process is, oh my God, you're such an idiot. You're such an idiot. But when I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, you're such an idiot. But then I'll say, oh, I can't imagine how that feels. That's terrible. Oh my goodness. What do you think you should do about that?
Interesting.
But that's how I parent my kids too.
I don't see that side of you. I see the other side of you.
Because I'm talking to you.
One of the insiders.
But I'm talking to you.
Right.
I'm not going to, but when I'm talking to somebody else and you know how I really feel, you're like, oh, okay.
Well, yeah, but then I'm all sorts of confused because I'm like, she don't feel like that.
You're right. It's called.
Thank God I know how to keep my mouth shut.
That's right. But I'm going to tell you how I feel.
Oh yeah, I'm real clear.
But I'm not going to tell that person.
Right.
No. So I'm constantly feeling like that.
What is that about? The leading with empathy, even though there's judgment underneath.
I don't call it leading.
You don't call it leading with judgment? Speaking judgment.
Speaking empathy.
Speaking empathy.
Feeling judgment.
Judgmental as shit.
Yeah, but my Myers-Briggs, I'm a judger.
So am I. But I'm not leading with that. But what is that? Is that like your way of being able to get out of the conversation? Because if I communicate with empathy, then I have to stay here with you in this space, right? But you do communicate with empathy.
I do.
So that's fascinating. What is that about? Why are we judging and not communicating the judgment? Because it's rude?
Yes, it's rude. It implies that my way is the only way. I may be judging and I may feel a certain way, but I also am very clear that that's not always the way. I don't think there is a right way to do something. There's a way I would do it, but that doesn't make it right. Does that make sense?
Yes. How then can people trust when you're responding in an empathic way that you're genuinely feeling empathic?
They can't.
Well, there's the show, folks. Actually, thanks for coming to the podcast.
You would have to get to know me very, very, just like you. You know me very, very well, and you've seen me interact in different scenarios.
Is this why people like me? Because if I'm feeling judgment in a moment, I will either not say anything and continue to nod my head with this furrowed brow that comes in constantly. This is right here. It's right here.
It's because you're confused?
Or
you're
I'm thinking. I'm confused. I'm really trying to get there.
Well, that's why I'm
working through my own feelings.
That's why I have to FaceTime you when we're going to talk about certain things, because I'm like, I need to see your face.
Right.
Don't put the face
there.
on.
It's right there.
I know.
You're like, do not do the face.
I know. Right? Or I'm like, are you doing the face right now?
But there's a distinct level of comfort that comes from the fact that if I'm feeling judgment in that moment, I'm either not saying anything or, depending on our relationship, I'm outwardly judging it. I'm outwardly saying, Tell me more about that. I'm having a really hard time getting around that concept because I'm noticing I would do something very, very different. That would be my response. Whereas your response would be like, that's so difficult. That's really, but inside you're like, dumb shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating. But why? Why?
I guess it depends on my level of closeness is the wrong word. If somebody is on the street having an issue or whatever, and that would be me. Oh yeah, I might be very judgy. If it's someone who I'm very close to, it would be I would have those conversations, but then I might say, well, I'm reacting to this because of this. Do you know? I guess it just depends. And maybe it comes down to the fact that I don't want to hang with certain people.
Right. That's right.
I don't want to hang with you. I'm not interested in solving your problems.
Right.
I got a very clear time limit.
Right. If I'm going to judge you and have a conversation with you, I'm going to have to stick around for why we're going back and forth about that judgment. So what's interesting is I'm the opposite in that if I'm meeting you on the street, I'm more apt to be like, that sounds so difficult, right? Because I don't know you. I don't know your story. I don't want to get into it, right? But I'm like, that sounds interesting. I'm sure there's information about that, but I'm not interested in getting into it. If you are at all close to me or I at all care, even the smallest bit about you, you're getting the furrowed brow.
Yeah, but that's because you care.
Right. But you don't.
And you want to solve it.
You don't.
I do, but I'm also very clear that humans are humans and they don't necessarily want it to be solved. They just want to vent. They just want to talk it out. They just want to connect. They don't want the solving. Specifically, the people who can't get out of their own fucking way. They don't want to solve it. Okay. Wow. That's a choice. I always say to my kids, that's a choice. Sure. You can do that. You totally can do that. And let me know how that goes next time you make that choice.
I wonder if anyone's ever heard, wow, that's a choice, and has not heard that as a judgmental statement. Looks like we're making choices over there, huh, Scott?
There's
You're
your
making
choice.
some
That's
choices.
your choice.
Good for you, Scott.
Yeah.
Good. That's good. Wow, Scott, that's a choice.
And speaking of choices, you can choose to subscribe to Even More Love.
Right.
and get it going.
That's a choice.
And I think that if you subscribe and then you get others to subscribe underneath you,
You get
and
extra
then,
money.
Yeah, and then those people,
then
for
you're
everyone
part of
that
this.
you get,
You're part of the cult.
yeah, for everyone that you get, then they get someone, and so
Right.
on and so
Right.
on. And
Build your
Then
team.
there will be a prize for you at the end.
That's right.
Maybe.
free
maybe,
packet
yeah.
of
But
flavoring.
you'll have to be with us for 10 years in order to find out.
God bless.
I loved that.
Me too. Isn't empathy amazing?
Well, we're amazing. I don't know about all this empathy stuff.
That's fine. I accept you wherever you are.
Oh, God.
I love you.
I love you too.
And if you love us, please like and subscribe to More Love, the Power of Empathy podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
See you next time.